Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Welcome to the Switch Hustle with Mags Boland Murphy from Boffin Consultancy, where we are going to chew the fat, all things good, bad, and in between in business and in life. And today's guest is the powerhouse that is Niamh Hogan from Holos. And I love her business. So I'm delighted to have Niamh on today. And thanks for giving me the time, Niamh. I know you're a very busy lady like the rest of us. Niamh, let's start by, I suppose, finding out a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Holos for those of our listeners that don't actually know much about it. It's an Irish brand, so I'd love you to just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we are, yes, an Irish brand. Everything is handmade in County Wexford, in small and regular batches. But what we do is we give vitality to the skin, the well-being, and your world through skincare that fits easily into your life, basically. So what we do is we take all the things we love about natural skincare, which are the nutritious plant ingredients, and we take all the things we love about cosmeceutical skincare, which are scientifically proven plant actives. We bring them all together while also being vegan, cruelty-free, eco-friendly and sustainable. So it's really what we do is we harmonize nature, science and consciousness to create products that work. So that's it in a nutshell. We sell like cleansers, toners, serums, facial oils, body oils, masks, all sorts of things like that, and beautiful gift sets for Christmas as well. So yeah, that's us.
So remember that, everybody. Beautiful gift sets for Christmas. And I have to say, I really do genuinely like your product. I love the ethos behind it. And I've noticed as well a big shift in oils. You know, I know I'm using a lot of them, and they just seem to be the go-to thing at the moment.
Well, I think in general people are more educated, and obviously we have the internet and access to information, so people are learning a lot more about people are coming to us and they know ingredients and they know about those things already. So the consumer is just more educated now.
Yeah, and they're more aware, I think, of what they're putting on their body as well, which is super important. And Niamh, tell us how you started. Give us a little bit of the juicy stuff, your own backstory. How did you start this business?
Well, I suppose I actually gave a talk on all of this stuff the other night, and I was just like, how did I end up here? But because I often ask myself that question too. I know, but it's not like I sat down one day and made this great big plan, because I didn't. I worked in catering and I loved traveling, and I wasn't settling down to do anything. And then when I was 27, I went back to college to do holistic health, and I spent 2 years doing diplomas in massage, reflexology, aromatherapy. I taught yoga, fitness, exercise, always really interested in the whole kind of natural health end of things. And I did that. I opened a holistic health clinic in Gorey in 2008 during the recession, or just before the recession, actually. I mean, I wouldn't be told that it wasn't a good idea, but sure, I did it anyway. And it stood to me because obviously you learn when you take chances like that. So I did the therapies I was a therapist, a practicing therapist, I suppose, for 10 years. But in 2012, we were heavy in the recession at that point, and I suppose my therapy business had slowed down in that. That was one of the first things to go during a recession, people kind of taking care of their health, particularly holistic health, which is a preventative thing. So I had time to kind of sit down and look at other things. So I started thinking, what about, if I started to sell the oils that I used in my clinic? So I would have made up oils for massage and reflexology. And I thought maybe I'll start selling those. So I started selling those, and my husband, who's a designer, Paul, I'm sure, he was like, please stop sending out those bottles with the handwritten labels on them. They're horrendous. Let me do something. So he started designing labels. And then he said, they'd look even better with boxes. And then he arrived home with these boxes that he designed. And I was like, oh my God, these actually look like something you could buy. And I started just putting them up on Facebook. And then people started getting in contact, kind of friends, family, friends of friends. And then coming up to Christmas in 2012, it was kind of like just it was like a market research thing, really. I started to sell them at Christmas markets, and people were interested. So then I spent the next year doing, just playing around in my kitchen, making products. I went into making creams and different things then, and just planning. Like, I knew nothing, Mags. I knew absolutely nothing about running a skincare company or launching a brand. Like, I had to learn how to formulate. I had to learn all about the legislation, how to sell. I knew absolutely nothing. So it was purely like, just learn as I go.
What did you think sorry for interrupting, because I just thought of something. What do you think kept you going?
Well, I was really enjoying what I was doing. Like, I was enjoying what I was doing, and I was getting positive feedback every step of the way. So there was no point, like, during it all where there was any, but actually there was one point, which I'll tell you about in a minute, where there was anyone saying this is not a good idea, until I went to who was it? Oh God, one of those kind of funding things that you do.
Investment.
No, it's not the Leo, the other one, the 3-phase one.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember.
Yeah, no, you're okay. You're okay.
But they told me I didn't have a viable business. Now, I mean, if I'd listened to that, Mags, at the time, like, where would I be? But anyway, but yeah, so it everything was telling me to go for it, and then after a year of research, planning, got the products made and done, first batch, and then I had to sell them. So 2014, that was when we actually launched, and I had to get out into my car and do door-to-door sales.
That's
never done it before.
That is tough. That is tough. And that's coming from someone who has done sales. That's
Mags, it's the hardest job in the world.
Yeah, it is. And I actually take my hat off to anyone who does it.
Yeah.
Because it's tough out. It's a test of your mettle, really, to be honest with you. One of the things there that I love, and I didn't realize, but I love it, is that you were told that it was not a viable business. We have a lot of businesses that are sent to us from EI, Intertrade Ireland, and for viability. And some of them, we might hear before we meet them, listen, this business doesn't look viable. But I'll take a really objective look at it and make my own assessment. And sometimes I agree and sometimes I don't agree. But it also comes down to the person. I think the business is really down to the person who's holding the business.
Absolutely.
I think if you want this to work, you can make it bloody work. And if you don't, it won't. And I'd be a bit like you. I'd be like a dog with a bone. Within reason, obviously, you do things when you're starting a business that you necessarily, you don't exactly love. And you hope to Christ you don't have to do it again. But
exactly.
It's like you have to apply yourself and go, right, I need to get shit done. Pardon my French, listeners, but I need to GSD, step up to the plate and just, right, if I want this to work, there's certain things I'm going to have to do and engage with.
And that's it. And the thing is that, I knew that we had a product that was sellable and the people wanted. And maybe when I presented my business plan at the time, the numbers didn't work very well. But the reason to go on this program was to kind of figure out how to make it work, so that's the thing. Like, of course you can make mistakes and get things wrong, but if people want it, then it's just finding the right way of getting it to them, the right model or whatever it is, or the right messaging or whatever. Like,
absolutely.
So yeah. So there's just a million things you have to think about, but
Yeah. And do
it's
you
fun.
find, I don't know about you, but even this morning now, we're incredibly busy at the moment looking into
Mm,
2022, which is a great thing. But you've a million things going on in your head and you don't want anything to fall through the cracks. And it's keeping, lucky I have a great team around me and you're the same,
mm,
because you can't do everything yourself
yeah.
and you're trying to scale it, you're trying to scale it for success.
Mm.
And do you find your head is a busy spot? Um,
Oh, of course, yeah. No, my head is definitely a busy spot, but over the years, I've had to train myself to switch off and to have a cutoff point, and like I do allow myself, if there's a lot on, like I allow myself that time to overwork, but only only um you know under the guarantee that I'm not going to be doing that next week
yeah,
or whatever. But yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing, like the thing about having a busy head. That's why you hire a great team as well. Like it's so important to be able to,
so
you
important.
get the stuff out of your head and give it to one of your team who
Mm,
makes it happen for you then.
yeah,
So it's like it's that is just so important, and it's given me great freedom
mm,
to be able to be creative
mm.
in the business, and you absolutely need that. And once if your head becomes too busy to the point where you're not able to be creative anymore, or small decisions become huge decisions, then you have to take a look and say, right, I need some help here. you
It's
know
funny you mentioned that, right? Because we have that's something I had to do about six,
mm,
7 years ago as well, was really look at myself and look at the business and kind of look it in the eye and go, right, what are you at, Mags?
yeah,
Because if your head's not right, you're no good to your business, you're no good to your customers and your clients. And
totally.
that balance piece, like especially during COVID, we
Mm,
were working with boards of directors, business owners all over the place. And that was one thing that really, really came into play. I always look at the person and the business because I believe they're both relative, right?
mm,
And that balance piece is now something that is super important.
yeah,
There's that old saying, you shouldn't live to work, you should work to live.
yeah. No, and I absolutely, the success of a business is absolutely linked to the mindset and the well-being of the
Oh yeah,
entrepreneur heading up that business. Like,
100%.
if you can't cope, your business won't cope. So it's
Yeah.
so important to have that, um yeah, that like work-life balance. I mean, what is it really? Like in
Don't
the
know.
early years, there is no work-life balance. You are working every hour, but there comes to a point where you have to make a decision, and you have to just work in your time off into your schedule.
Yeah.
It
And that's
just has
something
to be
that
done.
it has to be done. And I think for me, like you, Niamh, I have no problem working, like a grafter
Mm,
when we're under, in exceptional
yeah.
circumstances. And I would
Mm,
always say to my team, I want you happy coming in here. I don't, I want you to be happy at your job.
mm,
Because the day that I stop learning and the day that I don't enjoy it and it doesn't light my fire, then that's the day
mm,
to finish, it's the day to move
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But I think we're in a privileged position that what we do kind of floats our boat. Um,
Completely. I
yeah,
know.
no, absolutely. Like I
I
couldn't
mean, look,
go
there's
backwards there.
days, there's days where some days, more days are good, but some days, yeah, I'm just like, oh no. But most days are great in the grand scheme of things,
Like as my
and
husband often says, I'm getting you a punch bag for the office, at
mm,
times.
so you don't punch one of the team.
I know I never punch my team, but you do have moments of like deep breath, and that's
Yeah,
normal. That's there's no such thing as perfection. It just is what it is.
no,
Um,
but
Neil,
and you
tell
can't.
us. Go on, sorry. Go on.
No, I was
You.
just going to say, you can't expect a team to perform well if you're like a lunatic either.
No, you can't. You
So,
can't. Can I
mm,
ask you something?
Yeah.
Because I'm very aware that you bring in some of your ingredients and your packaging and that kind of thing, and I'm familiar with the challenge of Brexit. How have you dealt with Brexit, and what preparation did you do for it?
Oh, Mags, it's been a nightmare. But
Yeah.
like the preparation, I tried to be very prepared for Brexit, but there was no really preparing for Brexit because we didn't have a clue what we were preparing for. So I sat down for months and months and months before Brexit, going through that awful Tariq website, trying to find all the codes. Like, you can imagine the amount of things that we have to buy in. Like, a lot of our suppliers are in the UK. So I sat down and went through all that. Now, it turns out that we actually, for the most part, don't need them because they're actually sending to us and they're the ones that have to do it. Unless we're importing, then we need to know them. I tried to get suppliers, in Europe. And then, like, when Brexit hit, like, it was, no one knew what was going on. First of all, none of the shipping companies knew what was going on. We had stuff had suppliers saying we can't ship to Ireland now. We can't ship these products. We can't. There was stuff getting stuck in customs. It was all over the place, and it's still a bit all over the place, to be honest.
It is.
So we've moved some suppliers. So we have more suppliers in Ireland now, which is great.
That's brilliant. Brilliant to hear
good. We do still have suppliers in the UK, and the ones that we work with are very good and very organized. We've had a few issues, like with, when we're trying, if a company won't sell to Ireland, say, we've had this where we had a company that won't sell to Ireland, but it's the only place I can get this thing that I needed. So I had to import it from the UK. I mean, it's even think of it, it's ridiculous. And the thing, it was just some boxes. It was just some gift packaging, right? And it cost me last year to bring these boxes. It cost me €50 in shipping to get them into Ireland. We weren't buying too many, like it was, a few hundred. And it cost me €600 to get them into the country this year. €600. Because they wouldn't sell them to us because they just said Ireland is too much hassle to sell to. The customers were getting too annoyed and upset, and they were just they weren't selling a lot to Ireland anyway. So, but I said, look, I'll organize the pickup, and between getting it picked up, the customs charges, the VAT is grand. I don't mind paying the VAT because it can be written off or whatever. But and all the other bits, it was €600. I mean, the margin is gone on that. So
yeah, absolutely.
So it has been messy. It's definitely, importing things is gotten harder. I mean, it's easier to get something from China than it is to get something from the UK at the moment with some of them. But for the most part now we know what's going on, but it's taken the year to kind of to figure out and get our and it used to be a case of I would it came to ordering every month and you just had a few suppliers, and now it takes so much longer because there's so many other suppliers and they don't send this to Ireland anymore, and it's just it's been messy and it's annoying and it's frustrating because a lot of like we would buy from through distribution companies in the UK, but the manufacturer might be in Europe.
Yeah.
But we're finding that a lot of the manufacturers won't sell to us. They will send us to the UK. So they're like, look, I'm sorry, they're under contract to deal with Ireland. And I'm like, but I'm in Europe. So why do I have to go out of Europe to buy something in for?
You would think, Niamh, you would think. And it's so frustrating. And we have come across so many businesses that have had to, now we've helped a lot of businesses to rejig how they're working, but it's just, and it literally was like a minefield because it was a very uncertain time. And what we've noticed as well is that, in fairness to your business, you guys were looking at this pretty far out, right? But there's been an awful lot of businesses out there that just assumed they'd be fine. And they've had a tough year because they've had to learn new ways of doing things and, working around it.
Yeah.
Tell us where you are now, because I know you've just gone into the US market. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Oh, Mags, it's like starting a whole new business. But look, it's fun.
All fun and games till you lose an eye.
Mother. It is. It is. It's like a whole new business, though. Well, I'll tell you what. Like, the thing with the US is it wouldn't have happened only for COVID, and COVID has been horrendous with all its challenges, and it's been awful, on a personal level and a business level for so many people. But like yourself, Mags, with everything, you have to look at the opportunities and look at it, try to take something positive out of it. So what happened for us with the US was that I've been looking at the US for years. It's always been the place that we want to be, but haven't, it's expensive to go to the US. Like, everything is money in the US. They give you just enough information so that you are only dying to pay them for the rest of it. They're really good at that. But like, there was loads of kind of, the way of getting into a market would be to go there and do trade fairs and meet people, meet buyers and stuff. But they were extortionate, and I suppose from my experience of doing trade fairs here, they've never really been worth the time and the effort and the money, not for our sector anyway.
Yeah,
because ours is very brand driven and very online, and people know the brands from being online, so they're not too keen to come to trade fairs. They know what they want already. So I was like, look, I'm not going to drop 20 grand on a trade fair in the US without having a clear plan or strategy or anything. But then there was this
my language, Niamh, go on anyway.
Yeah. But there was this there's this group that ran trade fairs, but during COVID they put everything online and they became an agent for kind of indie brands basically, and that kind of go between. So I signed up with them and they started pitching us to buyers, and then what you do is, if the buyers like it, you have a private meeting with them then. So they pitched us to Very Shop, which is an online marketplace for kind of luxury consumables like skincare, beauty products, fashion, homewares and stuff. And they loved us, and we had a meeting with them and they took us on. So that was our first step into the US. Now, but at the same time, I was at the stage where it's like, well, I can't half do this. So there's no point in getting a platform and not be doing all the other things around it. So I hired a PR company, and we got a fulfillment center, did the legal stuff in the US, and we're just starting our digital marketing strategy now. So what happened out of that is then we decided because we were on the Very Shop platform, it was great, but we've no control over our digital marketing with them. We can't measure our ads. We can't, we could send someone to their marketplace to our product, but one click and they're out. They're gone to someone else's. So we launched our own website. So we've just launched our own website there 2 weeks ago. And we've got our PR company. Yeah, so we've got everything in place. All the everything is like we're selling bits and pieces. We're not really great, we haven't made our millions yet, but we're everything is in place. We've got some big TV pieces booked now for Philadelphia and LA. Like, we're just going for it.
Excellent. I love it.
It's either and we just have to. There's no point and that's the thing that we've been doing for years. Where are you going to export it? And I'll name out 5 or 6 markets, and it's like, you can't do that. You pick one.
Right.
Even like that's it. And even like we're in the US. Like, we're just going to be focusing on New York and LA. Like, that's where we target. It's not going to be like everywhere.
No, you don't need it. You've got your online piece as well, and like,
this is it.
Capitalize on that. I'm always saying that to companies, especially, I suppose you and I would have, like, I'm using Zoom and Microsoft Teams since 2013, 2012, 2013. I wouldn't know how to work without it now at this stage. It's not 100% of our business, but it allows us to work with clients all over the world, which is a blessing, right? And it allowed us as well. Okay, like you said earlier on, the pandemic has been a nightmare, and it has brought a plethora of challenges for business owners, for people personally. It's just been an absolute, challenge and a half. But we were able to hit the ground running to a certain extent because we were able to capitalize on that online piece. And I think like that's exactly what you're doing with the US market as well.
Yeah.
And I think people need to, and I think it's great to see, I always say, I said it recently and someone laughed at me in an interview, and they laughed in the best way possible. But I said, we were persuaded into positive progress. And it's so true, because otherwise we'll be dragged kicking and screaming. So I think there's huge benefits. I'm not a lover of being on social media 24/7. I'm not, right? It melts my head, if I'm to be honest. But in business, it's a necessity now. And we need to engage with it and see, okay, well, if you've got an online shop window, as I say it, then can you capitalize on that a little bit more?
Yeah, but look, it's all about having a strategy. Like, you could sit on social media all day long and get nowhere if there's no strategy around it. Like, I did it for years. And now, look, it was good. I learned. I spent that time learning. But now it's like, now we know exactly what's going up online, for the month in advance. Exactly. We know, everything is planned. It's no kind of, oh, what do we do today? You just have to. And in the early days, look, I'm again very privileged. I've got a good team. We work well together. And it's taken us time to get to this. But as a brand, social media is really important to us. That we have to be there and we have to be present. And you look at what sort of business you are. Like, like you can get carried away going, oh, you have to be on Facebook, you have to be on Instagram, you have to be on this, you have to be on TikTok, you have to be on it all. You don't have to be on it all. Where are your customers?
Exactly.
Where are your customers?
Exactly. And the amount of times that we ask people that question, because sometimes I'm sure you see it as well. People say, oh, you need to be on every platform, but you don't, because you just need to be where your customers are. Where do they hang out?
My 50-year-old women who buy our skincare are not on TikTok. Like,
definitely not. Not.
They're not.
My load is on TikTok.
Exactly. If she has 40 quid to spend on a moisturizer, great, I'm there.
But it's so true, though. And I think there's the one thing that has happened out of COVID, and I think it was going to happen anyway, is that we're being bombarded by brands. So how do you stand out? How does Holos stand out from the perceived competitors out there?
Look, Mags, the thing is that the one thing that I really believe in is authenticity. Like, and I don't
100%.
Like, you could, back in the beginning when I was learning, I tried so hard to kind of fit in with what all the other kind of brands were doing, and and I'd go to these events, and I felt like a total fish out of water. Like, I'm like, I'm the last person in the world.
Experience. We had
I'm the last person in the world that you would think owns a skincare brand. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. I just it didn't. So I pay very little attention to what everyone else is doing, and I just obviously you have to keep an eye. You have to see trends and stuff like that. But when it comes to what you're doing online, we just do. We work from the heart. We care about our customers. Everything is about customer service and about keeping the customer happy. That is like, like an example. Okay, here's what we like. We do try to do things a little bit differently. when COVID hit, every skincare company in the country launched a hand sanitizer, right, to sell, including us. But we didn't sell it. I refused to sell it. I was like, we are not cashing in on this absolutely crap situation. Look, we were already doing great online. Our online shot up overnight. I was like, I'm not, let's give it out for free. Let's give it to people when they place an order.
I'm going to stop you there for a minute, right? Because I'd say we could talk all day about this. The reason I'm stopping you now is that we did something exactly the same. Because we rang clients of ours and I advised them, stop working with us. We're stopping the invoices. Keep your working capital in the business. And what I did was, to all our sectors, I gave free consultations because people needed help. And, it just went against every grain in my body, because look, we run a business, we don't run a charity. However, you have to be true to yourself. And like, completely. I really believe in that word of being, and I know it's used a lot, but being authentic and being transparent and just being you. I've never really fitted into any cliques or any of that kind of jazz. I'm not that kind of person. But I've always kind of, as my dad used to say to me, paddle your own canoe, right?
Completely.
And yes, absolutely, you need to be aware of now I always say the perceived competitors, because we're not the same as each other.
Exactly.
And I think everyone has their strengths, and there's enough business out there for everybody. And I think not to get, and I do have this conversation regularly with companies, don't get so hung up on the competition, because that's time that's valuable to your business, where you could be spending on it working on your business, in your business. I don't do that BS. That's not me. And, I couldn't, it was very funny. And I'm sure you've heard me say this before, Niamh. I remember going to get advice from somebody who I was considering bringing in as a contractor into my business in the very early days, right? And they turned around and said to me, if you want to be nice in business, you'll never make it. So I proceeded.
That is absolute BS.
Oh, it is. So I proceeded, like, I'm not a fool, but I proceeded to just close my diary, thank them for their time, and I left. And I remember walking out, and my husband rang me and he said to me, how'd that go? I said, no, it's not a right fit, Dave, because, and he says, you're really staying true to this. I said, I have to, because I didn't open my own business to be a clone of something else. I opened it for myself,
Yeah,
and different to the table.
And it doesn't mean, like, you have to make hard decisions sometimes. Absolutely. And you have to, like, there are days where you can't be a walkover, like, but you don't have to be ruthless either. You just don't. I don't agree with that.
No, I don't.
That you have to be ruthless in business. You can absolutely be a decent person and also, not be a walkover. It's striking the balance.
It is absolutely about striking the balance, Niamh. And I think, if there's any people listening to this that are considering opening a business or are startups, personally, I would say you don't need to be ruthless. I would also say it's not going to happen overnight. And I would also say take time to learn. Have you any tips that you would give, particularly to younger people who want to go in and run their own business and start up something that they feel will be good?
Something that they feel will be good, that they need it to make sure it's something that the market feels will be good.
Yes.
Because that's we can all get carried away with passion projects that we love and think it's fabulous, but if it's not something that people are not going to pay money for, well then, it's viable. And that can be like something. Sometimes it can be a great product, but it's just ahead of its time, and people are not willing to pay for it now, but they might pay for it in 5 years' time. Especially around environmental stuff, like there's stuff now, that like products in that sector that people mightn't have paid for 5 years ago, but they're opening their minds to maybe paying for it now. So that can be a case, you know. I would say definitely make sure that people want your product. And I was actually just talking about this morning about one of the things that this is an old cliche. Fail fast is, you know, don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over. If you try something, put a time limit on when you expect it to work.
Absolutely.
And if it hasn't worked, then stop and try something else, because that's something I've learned the hard way. You know,
I think
years
about the hard way.
Years of slogging, doing it the same way because that's what everyone else was telling me I should do. And it's just not working. I mean, knowing it wasn't working.
I ask you, just moving off topic for a minute, tell us something that nobody knows about Niamh, or that no one had guessed about Niamh.
God. I'm really boring.
That is the last word I would use to describe you.
I've gone really boring. Like, you know,
you haven't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, like something. I used to ride a motorbike. I used to have a motorbike.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had a Virago 400, a Yamaha Virago 400.
Oh, nice.
Back in the early 2000s. Early 2000s. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and then I couldn't afford to have it anymore then, but sure, it was a bit of crack at the time.
Yeah, a bit of crack. They're a luxury, really, aren't they? You know, they're just such nice machines.
Yeah.
My hubby would love me to say yes to him getting one, and I'm like, if you
they're dangerous.
They are dangerous.
They're dangerous.
They are dangerous. And also, I know something about you.
Oh God,
you've been on stage, haven't you?
Oh God, say that again. I missed it. I missed you.
You've been on stage. You've been on stage.
On stage, as in musicals. Is
yes.
It? Oh yes. Yeah. Well, that's one of my God, I haven't done that in ages because of COVID. But I joined the Enniscorthy Musical Society a few years ago. Just obviously part of the whole work-life balance thing. And I loved it. I love singing, and you know, I used to sing when I was younger, and then didn't sing for years and years, and then joined the musical society. Now, obviously, I'm not getting lead parts or anything, but sure, it's a
bit of crack.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we'll be back again now next year.
Yeah, that's something I've missed as well as the singing. Just purely for something completely different to business, you know, just to have a little something, or you can go a bit mad when you need to. And just honest to goodness crack, like you can't beat it.
I know.
What is going to happen next for Holos, Niamh? What is on the cards for you guys now going into 2022?
Well, look, it's obviously we're, digital is really our focus. Look, we're still getting loads of great new partners, wholesale partners, but very much focused on the ones that really want to work with us rather than us begging and knocking on doors. So that's definitely part of our strategy, that they have to want to work with us. Building digital online here, in domestically and the US. So the US is a big part. Like that's our, big focus in digital strategy, PR, and just, getting our message out really. And then we're launching a new range then early next year as well. So it's those four things really. There's
a lot happening. There's a lot happening.
Yeah, but it's if you'd asked me to say what are we doing, a few years ago, I would have been listing out 20 things with no plan around any of them. But all of those things have proper plans behind them, and we're fully focused on them.
Yeah, on that, right? Because one of the things that I suppose I preach a lot about is the importance of having a plan, and kind of not flying blind. How important is that to you? How has it helped you?
I mean, you have to have a plan. Like in the early days, of course, you're learning how to plan, So like it's just have a basic plan even starting. But as you grow, like there has to be, you have to, like there's no point in deciding to do something and not knowing all the steps that need to be taken, and how you're going to take them and what's going to fund them and how many people it's going to take, and it just makes for, when you have a plan, you can deal with things that you hadn't planned for much more efficiently.
Absolutely.
Because
yeah.
You're not dealing with 100 things at once. So yeah, no, we definitely, you can't, and yeah, it's just you have to have a plan. You have to have a strategy.
We're just going to finish up, right? Niamh, can I ask you, if you were to give any businesses any one tip at the moment, what would it be?
One tip. Any business, and across the board, any business, if digital isn't forming part of your plan, then you're going to get lost. And that's been brutally honest.
Yeah.
It has to be some form of, it doesn't have to be everything for everyone. Digital is huge for us because we're a digital company. We're an e-commerce. We've got an e-commerce platform. But people are online searching for businesses, service businesses, all sorts of business. That's where they search now.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you need to have some measure of digital presence, and whether it's reviews about your business or whatever, but have it in there somewhere. And look, and like a website, like the younger generation are not buying in shops, they're buying online. Like our teenagers are buying online, and they will continue to buy online.
Tell me about it. I have one who's not even a teenager yet, and she's already told me what she wants online.
Yeah.
And Niamh, can I ask you something as well? With regards to the Christmas is coming up. So where can people get your lovely products, online and offline?
Yeah, so we're on the website. It's holos.ie, holos.ie. So everything, you can see everything there, but they'll also see a list of stockists down the bottom of the page. They'll find a list of stockists. So if they're, our stockists throughout Ireland, and they can get in touch. Like we're really contactable on social media. Like we're Holos Skincare on Instagram, Facebook, and just send us a message. We answer every single person that gets in touch with us, whether it's given out to us or whether it's given us great feedback.
It's all communication. It's all valuable.
Absolutely. And yeah, we've gorgeous gifts for everyone, men included. So
yes, I must look at the men's range. There's some fantastic companies I've noticed over the last number of years coming out of Ireland, and you're one of them, with good products. Brilliant. Amazing. And I think it's nice for us to recognize that as well, and to remember that we have an awful lot of really nuggets in Ireland that we need to
and there's
after.
So many reasons to shop in Ireland. Would be supporting a small business, environmental and sustainability reasons. I mean, shipping in from the UK is going to get worse and worse and worse, particularly coming up to Christmas. So people shop local.
Shop local, and you'll have it in time for Santa. Absolutely. And for everyone else. Niamh, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And remember, ladies and gents, it's holos.ie. And also check out the stockists, because their products are genuinely gorgeous. And I can say that as a user. So I'll let you all go. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.